because we have an intelligent person. He was a senior in college. I don't need his introduction because I can do his introduction just like this. I met him in 2019 first. When I first met him in 2019, he was very generous with his time. He spent a lot of time with us. He even danced on stage. I'm going to try to ask him to dance on stage the next time, or this time. Should we try to ask him this time? So, but you ask him. I can't ask him. Okay. So it gives me great pleasure and privilege in be able to welcome somebody who is a role model, not a real model, but you'll also see him on reels. He's a director, producer, actor, and he's done many, many films. Most famously, in recent times, you might have seen that Shah Rukh Khan has rented his house. Yeah. Well, that's the ultimate flex, is what I think. But apart from that ultimate flex, he's actually done so much. And therefore, it gives me great pleasure and privilege to be able to welcome somebody who was an outstanding student in college, not like me, who was standing outside. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please put your hands together for none other than Jackky Bhagnani. So, thank you. The awkward thing was that I didn't expect him to be dancing when he came. And then he looked at me saying, Rishabh, now you. So I didn't know what to do, but I was trying.
That's what happens with us, right? Wherever we go, they said, नाच के दिखाओ.
नहीं, उसके लिए मैंने उनको बोला, saying, आप लोग पूछो, मैं नहीं पूछ सकता. But आपने already कर दिया, thank you. But there's so much more to you than dance and acting and producing movies, and therefore I'm so glad that you took out time today and that you've come.
No, thank you so much. Actually, I was very excited to come here today. So, yeah.
Let me start by asking you, we studied in the same college. You were, of course, a senior, but you now look like my junior. He looks much younger.
Which college?
Richard?
No, it's called House of Romance.
Ah.
Did you know that? You know it as Harsimal Regumal. It's House of Romance.
Well, the girl that I wanted to date made sure that I don't remember it as House of Romance, is what I will say. But no, it's just on a lighter note. But let me ask you the first question. Were you an outstanding student, Jackky? Were you somebody who was the diligent student in class?
No. Actually, I was 150 kgs in college. So there was this Sushant Chinese wala.
Correct?
That guy's inside.
Huh.
Actually, he was outside. And then on my final year, he came inside. Indu Shani ma'am was the principal.
Of course.
So half the time, I used to be standing outside there.
Huh.
Eating Shanghai chicken for 50 rupees.
And then the immense transformation from there to here. How did that happen? Was it Bollywood? Was it a girlfriend?
It was actually a mix of everything. What happened is that it was a lot of bullying and stuff like that. So there came a point one day where I said, "Yaar, ye bahut ho gaya. I have to get this." So my friends called me family pack to 8-pack.
Family pack to 8-pack. But you spoke about bullying. Were you bullied in college, if I may?
Because of my weight, yes.
Okay.
Because what happens is in that age, right, that's the end all be all of how you look. Your appearance is everything, right, for all of us. So, yeah.
I always look like this. So I was bullied for other reasons.
What were you bullied for?
Rishabh. They would give an introduction, and then Indu Shani ma'am would give an introduction, and then she would call me on stage. And then I would go on stage, and people would judge me looking, no, that can't be Rishabh. And I would be like, no, but I am Rishabh. And the first 5 minutes of my conversation every time was that, trust me, this is what we've done. This is actually what we've done. So in my case, it was always about proving to somebody, saying that a person who is so much of a featherweight can actually do something that is slightly beyond a feather. I think in your case, it was slightly...
It was the other way around.
It was the other.
I was the heavyweight.
You were the heavyweight. The heavyweight champion. But I also must ask you this, that you come from privilege and you've not shied away from talking about privilege. And this is an important thing because many of the schools that are sitting right in front of us, and some come from a lot of privilege, is also what you make of the privilege that you have. And in that sense, how did your upbringing shape you to become the Jackky Bhagnani that we know?
It's actually my story is very unique because what happened is that I have seen both sides of the spectrum. That's why I don't shy away from the privilege, because what happened is I was 4 years old, 3.5, 4 years old, when we came to Mumbai, Bombay at that point with my dad, mom and my sister, with nothing in my dad's pocket. And we used to stand outside Mr. Bachchan's house on Sundays to have candy floss and stuff like that. So I've seen that side of the spectrum. So whatever my father built, from having nothing in his pocket to whatever he became, was all in front of us. So I was fortunate enough to know that if you work hard and you're dedicated, you can make an empire. So it's not like when I was born, he had already made it. So I saw both sides of the spectrum. Hence, I never shied away because I'm proud of what he's done. And my aim in life is, if he's brought us to a level, how do I use these resources for myself and empowering other people and take this to the next level? That's what I know, and hence maybe I don't shy away from it.
You don't shy away from it. And you didn't shy away from mentioning at the very outset that, of course, about privilege, but also about the fact that you were bullied. And the reason why I come back to that is because you took me back to my college days, and therefore I remembered the different type of bullying. How does one deal with peer pressure? Because Jackky, one of the things, and if I may, one of the things is that when your prefrontal cortex is developing, at that juncture, you've got so much of social validation that you need in order to feel good. How did you deal with it, and how would you advise others to deal with peer pressure?
I think it's a process. It's very easy for me to say, yaar, koi fark nahi padta hai. You should not care. You should not worry. But at that point and at that age and stage, it does matter. You have to maneuver, but at the end of the day, one has to just realize that you are going through your own journey. Everyone can just sympathize with you, including your parents. So once you understand that it's your journey, then all of this just becomes noise. But it's a process. It's easier said than done. Like I'll give you an example. What happened is back in the day, because I was a fat guy, I didn't have much to contribute when you were going out clubbing and stuff like that. So what used to happen is, friends used to only call me if they needed a car, right? Because I was lucky enough to have that car. So my parents or my sister or my cousins used to say, "Arey, teko pata nahi hai, they are using you." My problem was, I knew that. And if I didn't offer the car, they would not call me. Right? So it's very difficult, right? So the only thing I would suggest to everyone is that it's easier said than done for me, but I can just tell you by experience, do not fall into any pressure. You should have your own journey. You should have your own target. And that's what matters at the end of the day.
How did you get out of that phase? How did you get, because there would have come a point where you must have been like, was there a point where
there came a point where I said, actually it was an uncle. Okay. There was an uncle जो खुद मोटे थे. Right. And there was this film called Mr. and Mrs. Khiladi, which had released a couple of years back. So we were sitting at home and that uncle told my dad that Yokozuna was called from Canada.
Yokozuna.
Right. So he told my father that, अरे आपको तो बाहर से मंगाने की जरूरत ही नहीं, आपके तो घर पे योकोजुना है. And I looked at him and I said, Uncle, तू खुद एक योकोजुना है, तू मुझे ऐसे कैसे बोल रहा है? But that was the tipping point for me. I said, बस अब हो गया. And I was around 16, 17, I think.
So that's when the concept of social validation, in a way, you were like, अभी मैं जैसा हूँ मैं ठीक हूँ.
And now I want to do something for myself. Because what happens is, where does the pressure come from? Pressure comes from when you know you're conscious of something.
Correct.
Like in my case, it was overweight. In your case, could be underweight. Where you said, yeah, I want to do something about it.
Correct.
Right? Either you're saying, this is how I am, I don't care. Or if you want to do something about it because it's affecting you, then you better get up and do something about it. This self-victimization is the most dangerous thing.
Well, you brought about a very interesting thing, self-victimization. And again, I'm talking about this because these are Gen Z issues, right? These are Gen Alpha, Gen Z issues. And self-victimization happens so many times. We say that all the bad things in the world are happening only to us. Then that leads
And
to...
there is a conspiracy going on against me.
There's a conspiracy going on. And that conspiracy, and then that leads to the mindset becoming like that. The mindset becomes like that. And then there are more problems. Like I was talking once to a doctor and he said most of the diseases are psychosomatic in nature. It's not actually a disease. So the point being that yes, you need to deal with adversity in a particular manner, and yes, it's okay to go and cry, but at the same point in time to know when to draw the line and when to get up and then also bounce back. It's also very important to do that. So that how does the process of self-victimization, like how do you draw that line between being okay with, say, failure and then getting up and saying, let's go and do this? Because it's very easy to just go back and not recover.
So it's very, very difficult if you don't understand it. If you understand it, it's very easy. The first thing I feel is that one should understand where you stand, where you went wrong, because it's very, very easy to self-victimize, right? मेरे साथ ये नहीं हुआ, मेरे साथ ये नहीं हो रहा है, मेरे parents मुझे ये नहीं दे रहे. But there's grass always greener on the other side. So it's very, very important. One should know where you stand today. So for example, if I want to be the number one guy in the industry, in any field I'm working on, I need to know where I stand today. Only then I can reach there, right? If I start self-victimizing कि यार ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ, ऐसे नहीं हुआ, वैसे नहीं हुआ, then life will just pass you by. And what happened is I was seeing a documentary of Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Very, very inspiring documentary. Everyone must see it. His high school competitor, there was, he was part of that documentary, and he said, you know what? While we were all gossiping and self-victimizing and bitching about how Cristiano Ronaldo is, doing this and doing that and how he scored this goal, he was always 2 goals ahead of us. वो 2 goal उसने मार दिए, and every time he was 2 goals ahead of us because he was not investing time in self-victimizing or bitching and stuff like that. On the weekends, it's okay. But yes.
But you're not spending time in self-victimizing, you're trying to spend time in bettering oneself and then going out there and scoring the goal, which I think should be the philosophy for Gen Z and any generation for that matter. But a slightly light-hearted question, Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
But the important thing to note is that he said that this is what I learned from Ronaldo, and that's something that the first time when you had a conversation, and Cyrus Brocha was also there, I don't know whether you recall it, there was Ananya Birla after you or before you, and one of the things that I noticed about his conversation then and again now is the fact that the ability to glimpse and learn the good from everyone, and that is what is very important. I wrote a book, and in that book, the first chapter of the book was Mohan Bhagwat ji, and the second chapter of the book was Rahul Gandhi. Now, we sent the book to the Jaipur Literature Festival. They said, Rishabh, we can't figure out whether you are from this side or that side. I said, I'm from no one side. I have written what good I have learned from both of these people over my many interactions with them, private and public. The problem, Jackky, is that in a world where everyone is seen in either black or white, nobody wants to actually say that there are many shades of grey. The idea that one should be able to see the grey and then distill what is white and black is also very important. You've done that from the conversations that I have seen. But when you have social media and when you have media that gives you absolutes, how do you say that this is the good thing that I want to learn from this person when they already have, and when we already have, a certain bias towards a particular individual saying, "Arey, ye insan ke bare mein to you already, these are the 10 things that are bad about this person. Why should I learn or why should I listen to this person? Let me look at somebody else." So how does one distill in the many shades of grey, the white, when media automatically has given us saying that this person is black or white?
See, media is, that's also, it's a point of view, right? They are biased. I've been a victim of that myself, right? So if I've been a victim of that, I cannot be doing the same thing, right? I always believe in don't judge a book by its cover. And it's happened to me, honestly, in my personal life, where I felt, yaar, ye to aisa hi hai, ye to waisa hi hai, because of the media opinion, right? But when I met that person, I realized I was completely wrong. And from that day, I decided that I will make my own opinion because of my own experiences. Could be virtual, could be in person. And that's the only way to be. Because otherwise, what happens is today, maybe I come here, maybe I've had a bad mood, and I did not have a great session with you. So you have an opinion of me, for example. But that does not mean, my experiences with others could be good or bad, right? Correct. So hence I feel that one should just judge for themselves. That's the only way. Also,
yeah.
For example, I am on Twitter, but I don't, like Rakul, she still sees comments. I never see comments.
What do you say? You don't see comments, and
I don't see comments.
How many of us on social media see comments?
Everyone.
By show of hands. I do. I every time do.
The only time I see comments is whenever I put a piece of content out to see what the feedback is.
Correct.
But on my personal, I never.
But how? Can I ask you honestly? Because in my case, the problem is that nobody comments. But the thing is, how do you measure that? How do you detach yourself from, like, this is detached attachment, as in spirituality or religion, somebody would say that this is detached attachment. How do you have that concept? You are in the field of glitz, glamour and glitterati. Every day there are 10 people who are shooting you with a camera. And you're saying that you've reached that phase, and therefore I must ask you this question, that how do you detach yourself from that comment section of social media? Because clearly I can't, and I'm sure many of us can't.
See, because what happens is I've come to a conclusion that maybe 40% could be genuine, right? 20% is orchestrated, right? Either by your team or either by, some haters and stuff like that. And then 40% is also, you have to understand that there is so much angst today in the Gen Z for various reasons, right? There is performance pressure, so much exposure. Today, my nephew and niece are, 9 and 10. I feel when I was 9, we were all dumb. They are so smart.
Correct.
Right. So all the Gen Zs today, they have so much performance pressure. They have so much knowledge. More than knowledge, they have also a lot of information. So they are sitting there, and because of that angst, sometimes, like if you catch me on a bad mood,
correct,
I might not be my best self. So that's what is coming out in comments, because, but what happens is we are all human beings. When you read something, I don't believe you could be anyone, and there can be some really nasty things written there, right?
Great.
Especially when you're a woman, because I see, Rakul's comments, there are some really out of line, sexual comments. You don't want to, you don't want that negativity in your head, and you don't want to lead your day with that. So the best thing is avoid. It's like a skiing person, right? Whenever you're skiing, you're focusing on that path. You only see that. If you focus on the tree, you'll bang into the tree.
Very,
so
very,
from that standpoint, I choose to focus what I want to. And it's taken me a long time to get here. There was a time when, aise kaise bol diya. I remember there was a film called Welcome to Karachi. I did. And there was one comment that, अरे इसको कराची भेज दो और ये वापस कभी नहीं आया, मर जाए वहाँ पे. So there were those days, but I just feel that, so I don't read comments.
So whether the comments are from Karachi or Kathmandu, stay away from the comments, is the mantra. And it's good. It's the solution, perhaps.
Comments should only be read, like I said, when you put a piece of content out, because that's when you gauge public ko kitna pasand aa raha hai, nahi aa raha hai. Personal comments, who is anyone to comment on me?
So the only time that you need to read comments is when you stand for head boy or head girl election, is what he's saying. Correct. But many congratulations. You mentioned Rakul.
That was a joke, right?
Sorry? Yeah.
That was, you're trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Laughter. Rishabh, you've created laughter.
You created the laughter because of me. I'm happy about it. But you mentioned that they're smarter. They're incredibly smart.
Absolutely.
We were talking to the ISRO chief just right before this, and thank you for patiently waiting while Steve finished. But when he was speaking, I did my questions with him, and then they started asking questions. And believe me, their questions were so much more pertinent to them, so much more sharp and incisive. And therefore, I want to ask you this, saying that
Millennials क्या थोड़े बीच के थे?
क्या हुआ?
Millennials, right?
हाँ, थोड़े बीच के थे. हाँ, सही है.
Gen Z is like
focus है.
Focus on point.
बिल्कुल. All Gen Zs are happy. The millennials are happier. But one of the things that, talking about happiness, measurement metrics for happiness. And again, this is because of the failures and the pressure when you fail. The measurement metric for success and happiness is different when it came to millennials, when it's different when it comes to Gen Z. My question is that how do you measure success and happiness as an individual? How does Jackky Bhagnani do that?
For me, I think in one line, if you can reach a stage in life where you can take a holiday wherever you want, however you want, and you don't have to look at your bank balance, with the best of health, is what success and happiness is for me. That is what it is. Otherwise, after a point, it's a swimming pool, right? 5 crore, 500 crore, 5,000 crore. I want to take a holiday today, wherever in the world. I should not have to ask my finance person कि यार क्या है, मुझे यहाँ जाना है, वहाँ जाना है, and I have to be in the best health also.
Correct.
So it's a combination of the two.
Because otherwise the Tata Nano will become a Rolls Royce and the auto rickshaw will become a private jet, but then you will always aspire to go outer space also. So that's what you're saying, that material success should not define success as much.
Yeah, because as I said, it's always, you've got A, you want B, you've got C. So right.
And in this generation where there are plethora of choices are now available on OTT. When we were growing up, and at that juncture, you had mainstream cinema. And outside of mainstream cinema, you didn't have much of an opportunity to go and essentially see content. Today, there is a burst of content across. It's made it more democratic for young people in order to see that content. But at a certain point in time, content that is being disseminated is disseminated without any regulation. Today, a 12-year-old has also seen White Lotus. A 14-year-old has also seen Game of Thrones, and all of this is freely available on the internet. As somebody who is a responsible producer and being as a part of the industry, do you think that content at some point should be regulated when it comes to OTT?
You're asking me very
This is the only
politically incorrect questions.
This is the only pointed question that I'm asking.
So
honestly,
I'll tell you, right? So I don't have children yet, right? So I could, and I'll give you a very fair answer. I don't have children yet, so for me, it's very easy to say no. It should be the purpose is defeated because now it's it's online, and then how is it? It should be like this, and what's the point? But for example, if you ask my sister that, right, who has a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old, right? She might have a different opinion because those are the foundation years of any child. So you don't want that child to see anything at that point which is not regulated and get influenced in an incorrect way, right? Because it's human beings are like machines, right? Those are the foundation years till your adolescence or till your teenage and so on and so forth. So it's very, very important that they have the right information. And sometimes what happens is this piece of content can be taken as wrong piece of information. So yeah, it's a very thin line.
You've given a politically correct answer. But no, what you didn't mention is that there is a very thin line, and it's perhaps from the prism where you are in your life and then you see it.
Absolutely.
But there's so much of content. When you make movies, how do you make those movies stand out? Because Just yesterday there was, just last weekend there was Kesari, then there is something on the internet with Saif Ali Khan's movie that is coming out, and there's so much from just Bollywood. And then there is so much that is from cinema generally, and now Indian cinema has become more accessible than ever. How do you make a film or an OTT show stand out when you've got so much of content that is going out to the end user?
I think it's a constant challenge, Rishabh. It's a constant challenge. Like what happens is, it also 30% is luck, because what happens is when you start something, you choose a content, you start something, hoping that nothing similar comes out before you are ready. Because what happens is by that time there's fatigue. So that factor plays a lot. What time are you releasing? Is it too crowded at that point? Sometimes what happens is, you feel this month is not crowded. So you stand out. But sometimes suddenly 3 films pop up from nowhere. There is, like for example, we released a film called Mere Husband Ki Bibi, right? Where there was a song called Goriye Kalaiyan and stuff like that, which did fairly well. But I felt it would have done 20% more if Chhawa would not become Chhawa a week before. Now no one thought that Chhawa will become so big, right? It was looking very nice. We all knew it's going to be a good film and it'll work and so on and so forth. But will it do this? We didn't know that. No one can really plan it. You just have to choose a unique subject. I personally feel that the focus should be in the heartland. There are so many stories. I feel the tier 2 are a much more, loyal audience. There are so many stories which we still don't know. If you speak about those stories, the chances of it reaching out is much, much more, because that's where the mass is sitting.
So the movie that you made, of course, and your movies are light-hearted subjects. You had Arjun Kapoor, you had Rakul as a part of it, and by the way, many congratulations on your marriage. Huge round of applause. You just got married. I'm sure you must have seen. We all, in some way, all of us attended your wedding. We were all there on Instagram. But something I must ask you is that you've chosen subjects which are light-hearted, which are friendly to audiences generally. In school, sometimes it does happen that we're told, and in college, we're told that do this very seriously. And therefore, people start taking life too seriously. And only when you then hit post-adolescence that you realize that, or sometimes even much later, and sometimes not at all, where you're taking life very seriously. One of the things that I also see from your social media and the way you conduct yourself, you don't seem to take yourself and life very seriously in the sense that there is gravitas, but it's not to the extent where it becomes dangerous for oneself, because then you are always looking behind and checking as to what's happening. How does one not take life too seriously?
So I take my work very seriously. I take my relationships very seriously. I don't take life very seriously. What I mean by that is, if there is any kind of setback, if there is any kind of failure, I don't think that's the end all be all. Because that's what I've seen in my dad's case. When we came to Bombay, like I said, we had nothing, right? And he made it all. Then he lost all his money in a film we made called Om Jai Jagdish. And he started from ground zero again when we started working with him. Recently, a year and a half back, we had a colossal flop loss film called Bade Miyan Chote Miyan. And it was not the most good 12 months in terms of finance and company restructuring, stuff like that. But I've seen that too many times in my life, and that's part of it, right? You can build it back again and all of that. So I don't take life seriously in that standpoint, because there are so many other things I need to be happy about. But in terms of aggression, I'm very aggressive. In terms of work, I'm very, very, very serious about my work. So you need to be able to once
the
you've,
fine line.
as long as you've come back home and said, yeah, I've given my 100% today, I'm good.
So the 100% is over the maths and the history. If Rohit Sharma doesn't score a century, it's okay. That is what you're saying. In a way.
Yeah, as in if I'm not watching it on TV, yeah. Because I want him to score 100 every time.
Well, one of the things, the discipline that you are in shapes society, and it's an undeniable part that cinema shapes society. There are very hyper masculine films that are being made. There are jingoistic films. I'm not saying patriotic, but there are jingoistic films that are being made, and they become blockbusters without naming any particular movie. Patriotism is important, gender parity is important, but cinema is pushing products which are sometimes hyper masculine in nature, like I said. Do you think that that is the case? And if that is the case, then how much of this responsibility is with the filmmakers who are making this kind of cinema vis-a-vis the audience who is 14, 15, 16, 17, and then going to the cinema and then consuming it, because these are the movies that are available. Sometimes serious.
See, what happens is, again, when you're in the business of filmmaking, right, you have to do stuff which will bring in the audiences, right? You have to. It's just any kind of content or any kind of public appearances also softly influences the society, and I'm not denying that. But at core, whoever is making a film, their priority is how do I bring in maximum audiences to make maximum money. So at that point, whatever is going on in the society, right? People pull out stories from that, make films out of that, and that's what people relate with. If you make films which people don't relate with, it'll not do the numbers. So whatever is happening, whatever you see on film is actually the reality that time in the society, right? And then there are films, there are documentaries which you can make. So it's a very tough question to ask, right? Because if I start only making films which are
Artsy.
correct in every way,
Correct. Then it won't be a
I don't think it's not going to do those numbers. And I think the Gen Z are very smart. They've all understood also that ye entertainment ke liye, of course, there are people who get influenced by it, no doubt about that. But I think it's not as bad as when we used to watch films. And like you rightly said, earlier there used to only be content through theatre, cinema. Right now, film pe aa raha hai ya nahi aa raha hai, it's, today reels are there. There is so much content online. There are series which are, a minute, 2-minute series. There's so much more. So
yeah, there's so much more. And reel पे बहुत सारी चीज आती है. Like role models भी reel पे आते हैं. Now my thing is that it's okay to see role models on reels, and it's great. But what's coming on reels is the content that everybody wants to show you. It's not, and of course your algorithm wants to show you. It's not necessarily the real face of those individuals per se. But it's very easy to get influenced. And of course, this generation is much better than the ones that have gone by in able to discern what is actually real and what is just reel worthy. But because there's so much of such content that is available online, how does one choose a role model? There are 2-3 deep questions, otherwise it's just fun and games.
No, again, how does one choose a role model is it's also so subjective, right? Like my role model
is who, if I may?
My father, of course. Number one, he is my role model. Apart from that, when I was growing up, it was Hrithik Roshan. Because, he had a back issue, he had 2 thumbs and so forth. So when he was launched, I was in 9th or 10th standard. I was like, wow, if this guy can become like this, why can't I? And I still did tell him. So at that point, I felt Hrithik Roshan is my role model. And role models keep changing because as you keep growing, you start understanding life more. You start understanding more about how you need to lead your life, and role models keep changing. But it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. How do I choose a role model? I know what my role model is.
How did you choose your role model? Chalo, this will help us for sure. How did you choose, say for example, Hrithik ki aapne kahani
I chose Hrithik Roshan because he came and became a superstar from the point when the doctors told him you can't even run, you can't even walk. Because I was this 150 kg kid who has severe asthma, dark sheep of the family. Everyone never thought I'll be able to do anything in my life, right? I used to take my inhaler 3 times a day. I don't know how many years back I took my inhaler. So for me, Hrithik Roshan was my role model. कि यार ये कर सकता है तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. And that's what I want to be in life, where whoever feels that I don't know how will I achieve it, I want them to look at me and say, यार ये कर सकता है तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. That's what I want to be for
the next
generation.
And your story of transformation from heavyweight to a heavyweight on stage is role model worthy for sure. But there is, to end this conversation before I open it up to them, because I want them to ask more questions, is a small rapid fire inspired by people from your industry, at the end of which, like I promise, we give a hamper, but the hamper is not that size. It's a smaller hamper, because we can afford only a smaller hamper.
What is inside the hamper?
This is the problem of going off script. But there's all sorts of healthy things which will...
He just reminded me of Rakul. I have to say that because what happens is whenever we host together, events or weddings or shows, she tells me backstage, you will not improvise. And if I improvise, she tells me, if you improvise, you have to tell me what I have to reply. I said, then how is it improvisation? So,
but, yeah, but there are some who have natural flair, some need a lot of preparation.
Thank you, really appreciate
it. I'm greatly inspired by this guy called Cyrus Brocha, who I'm sure you know. Yeah. And Cyrus does humor like nobody else does, and one only tries to mimic, and one is only mimicking. But the rapid fire, after which there is a bunch of healthy chips and cookies in the hamper, is as follows. The first thought that comes to your mind when I say the word OTT.
Over the top.
Bollywood.
Life.
Rakul Preet.
Oxygen.
That already won you the hamper. But when I say one value you think every Gen Z should live by, one value.
Just be righteous.
One movie every teenager should watch.
Life of Pi.
One book every teenager should read.
I think The Secret. That's really worked for me.
Rhonda wrote the book. Think The Secret.
Done?
Yeah. And the last one. The last two one. When I say India, what's the first thought?
Pride.
Last one is a very important one, is what I keep telling people. When I say India's international movements to United Nations or IIMUN, what's the first thought that comes?
Rishabh.
Oh, sorry. He said the politically right things, but he also said very many things very candidly.
No, but it was not politically correct at all. Was it?
But thank you for being an exemplar of being candid in the large part of the conversation which we had. And I must tell you again, as much as he spoke about off-script and on-script, majority of the conversation was not what was actually shared in terms of questions. Majority was what we spoke about and the concepts like you spoke about, whether it be dealing with adversity, whether it was your own personal struggle, how you dealt with it. And I think those are the kind of things, including happiness, which is a subject which I grapple with, reading a comment section, which I think we grapple with every single day, and social validation. You spoke about things which are completely outside the domain of those questions, but I hope you came happy and you go back happier. Like I said, a lot of the conversation was off script. It was about cinema, of course, but you threw light on subjects that are very pertinent to young people. And for that dance, and so also for the candor, and especially for the answer what IIMUN stands for, it gives me great pleasure to be able to say that we had Jackky Bhagnani as a part of the role model series.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
There's a small token of appreciation. As you know, IIMUN's done by 16 to 22-year-olds. So there's a 19-year-old from Ahmedabad called Murthy. She's come, she wants to give you a small token of appreciation on our behalf. Murthy. Right, Jackky. Thank you once again for doing what you've done, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And whilst going, once more? Once more? Sorry, man.
You have to do it.
I'll try. But you lead, I'll try. Okay. 3. Come? Come. He was going, somebody said.
I'm just copying you.
Okay, we need the music here. Without the music, we can't do it. There's no music, that's even better. I can talk, he can talk and dance. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one last time, Jackky Bhagnani.